Hello, this is Gail Perry and Catherine Gamble. How are you, Catherine?
I am doing well, Gail. How are you?
Well, it's a tough time for a lot of nonprofits and for our clients, and we are concerned and worried about economic future and fundraising communications in this very uncertain time.
It is difficult times. I have conversations almost daily, Gail, with some of our clients who are concerned about their future of their organization, the future of their teams, and most importantly, their concerns about the people who benefit from their work.
That's right. So we want to chat with you today about meaningful donor conversations as in uncertain times. And first of all, well, let's talk about the fact this really is a crisis for many
Mhm.
organizations. Most nonprofits receive some type of government funding. Isn't that right, Kathy?
It's right. I mean, I think I've said this before, and I'll say it here again quickly. There are really three primary sources of revenue for nonprofit organizations. Government is one, and it is a significant portion of revenue for many organizations. And then there's earned income, sales, ticket sales, fees for service, et cetera. And then lastly, but also critically important, something we deal with every day, and that is from philanthropy.
That's right. And so we're looking at serious reductions of funding across the nonprofit world, I would say. I mean, there are some types of institutions that are more immune than others
Mhm.
because they have substantial earned income or other types of support. But if you are facing uncertain government funding, I think the first thing you need to understand is yes, this is a crisis.
Mhm. It is for sure. I mean, and the uncertainty around it. I mean, the messages we all hear as Americans is sometimes changes in a moment as we're hearing, and that just feeds the uncertainty that people are feeling and questions that many have, including those that are also contributing to your organizations.
So, in terms of strategies for meaningful communications with donors in uncertain times, the first strategy really is to acknowledge how you
Mhm.
feel and how everybody is feeling, and just acknowledge the uncertainty. Even just that somehow helps get some burden off, don't you think, Catherine?
I agree. I mean, basically, what Gail is talking about is empathy by acknowledging how people are feeling. You can never go wrong by just being empathetic and even sharing a little bit about your own feelings if appropriate in that moment. So, acknowledging people, saying this is difficult, kind of opens the door for you to have deeper conversation about what's happening at your nonprofit.
Yes. And so the second strategy we want to share with you today is you really do need a strategy and a plan. Like, what are you going to do first? And we're really, this is in the communications realm. This is in, and we want to focus on your major donors particularly. And you know who they are, hopefully. And you need to have an approach ready to go and talking points and a plan for reaching out to them.
Mhm. Very important to have a strategy. So, sit down with your team or members of your organization and just kind of brainstorm about what are some of the best steps for you to take. Starting with acknowledging these are tough times for your organization. There is nothing wrong with saying that or even beginning with that in terms of your communication.
And I think it's perfectly fine to send an email out and say, we are having, this is tough times for our organization. I have a little bit of a soapbox rant here about the way nonprofits communicate to their donors and to the rest of the world. And now, Catherine, when it comes to communicating with donors and communicating to the world, sending emails, whatever you say about your organization, you need to be careful not to follow the same watered down communications that sound high flown, very dignified. This is the time to say, yes, we are having a challenge at our organization. We are facing a funding crisis. It's okay to say that in the subject line of an email. It's okay to say that when you reach out to donors. You don't need a high powered conference room powwow to be able to say these words, frankly, to your supporters, right?
Agree 100%. The more direct, clear that you are, so your donors understand what is happening. I will say this too, Gail, most people, most average people, average donors do not know how nonprofits are funded. This is an opportunity for you to educate your donors about the way your revenues come to your organization and whatever gap is being caused by potential cuts or current cuts, whatever's happening. And you explain that gap, not just in terms of this is how much money we've lost, but how the impact that gap has on on those people who benefit from your organization. Tell them what's happening to the people
That's
that
right.
you that or that depend on your organization for whatever you do.
That's right, because your goal, of course, is to build trust
Mm-hmm.
and communicate in ways that build trust. You know, you want to reinforce the impact of the donor's generosity to your work. Excuse me. And you know, you also need to remind donors that they're key. They're
Mm-hmm.
key to bringing these wonderful services to your constituents, your patients, your students, whoever you're serving.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, these donors of all political stripes, we don't want to talk about politics with our donors. We want to avoid that topic unless they're on a rant and you just all you can do is listen because you're dealing with something more important in a
Mm-hmm.
way. You're dealing with what are we going to do now? We're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get food on the table. We're trying to get battered women sheltered so that they can be safe at night. We're
Mm-hmm.
trying to save babies' lives. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this is beyond politics. And even if you
Yeah.
have a donor that may be supportive of some of these cuts, they may not be supportive of those particular cuts y'all are facing.
So remember, the donors that support you for a reason. It's because they care about you are let me say it this way, you are the conduit to their being able to help other people or support whatever it is that your mission does, education, healthcare, the arts, whatever you do. They're giving to you because they care about this. So here's one thing you have to do when you're taught where you can share the numbers and they're important. Then humanize it. Tell a story about what it is about the impact of the cuts that may be happening to you or possibly happening to you in your organization. So tell the stories because this is why donors give and this is what they're going to hear. And the beauty of being able to tell a story, to humanize what is going on in your organization, is the donor will remember and they will share the story. Your
Exactly right.
story will get out.
They will share the story. And remember, one story is more important than three stories. It has more power. And one story needs to be about one person. And the story doesn't need to go on 15 paragraphs, which I have seen. You know, you're not writing a book report. You're sharing a story. Let me just share a quick story with you about one kid. There was a kid who, there was a family who, there was a patient who, you know, all you have to do is illustrate it so simply. And donors it'll stab the donor in the heart. Remember, they're giving because they really care about your mission, your particular mission. Catherine, I want to talk a little bit about being transparent about
Mhm.
finances. And everybody, hot tip, this is a great time to bring back the old pie chart about where your funding comes from.
Mhm.
Philanthropy, earned income, and government funding. Because
Mhm.
I'll tell you right now, board members could not figure this out. People do not know their funding model. And so
That,
how wonderful to be able to educate your donors and your stakeholders, who are all diverse types of people, how your work is funded.
that's a great point that Gail is making. And I really think if you're listening to this, I would like back it up and listen to Gail tell that again, because that is so critical. This is an opportunity to educate those that care about your organization who want to help other people. This is an opportunity for them to gain a deeper understanding and to understand if you're losing one of your slices of that pie is shrinking, how in the world do you make it up with the other two, which is very challenging. We acknowledge that. I mean, we know that 100% that it's hard to do it. It doesn't happen overnight. So the risk that occur creates for your organization, you can tell a story about what that risk it means. As Gail was saying, the who you're serving, the child, the healthcare person the person that needs healthcare services, whatever it is. I mean, you can tell these great stories. So So you can start with a story and then show the pie chart. You can even show the pie charts and tell the story. There are lots of ways to put the pieces of this together.
And remember your objectives. Your objectives are to build trust and credibility
Mhm.
and deeper connection with your donors. And I can tell you right now, Catherine will sign on with me about this. You share your funding model to donors is interesting to people. It's educational to people. It builds trust because you are being more transparent. This is exactly the advice that we were giving people during the pandemic. And our clients who were more transparent with their donors, they did not whine, but they were
Mhm.
very brave and they said, this is how we're planning to withstand this period of time. We have had to lay off these people. We have closed this or that, but we're going to make it through. And
Yes.
that kind of determined and still positive with a plan to go forward is very powerful for donors to hear.
Absolutely, it is. And what Gail is saying, I hope everybody's really taking notes because this is so important. And we saw that trend of transparency and going to donors with here's what we think we're going to do, here's what we think our plan will be or what our plan is, and being very transparent about the impacts of what is occurring this around in your environment today, being very clear about it, be very clear. And also I'll give you this little piece of advice. When you're delivering this information to a donor, do not do it like you're like a fire hose. Talk a little bit and share a little bit and pause and ask them what are their impressions of what you've shared. It's a key question. And let them talk a little bit because they may have questions. They may have thoughts about this. They may not, they may then express that they didn't understand this was the case and they'd like to know more about what it is. And you can continue to go back and forth with your donor in the conversation with them. One, you'll learn a lot about them, but you're also giving them some really key information that helps them make their decisions around how they're supporting your organization. And we saw this in the pandemic, didn't we, Gail, where we had clients call us up after we had coached them in just this same way and say, my donors stepped up and they're making a large gift to help us close the gap we're experiencing right now in this early stage of the pandemic. Your donors will step up today again, too, as long as you're transparent, as long as you're clear, and you make them part of your conversation.
Yes, and I have one other point I want to share with y'all. Everybody who is a major gift officer or who is assigned to nurture major gift relationships, people say to us, I need a pretext. Why? Why? What is my pretext for reaching out to the donor? Guess what, everybody? You have got a pretext right now. And what you need to do is use permission. Remember, Catherine, I teach permission over
Mm-hmm.
permission. Say, Mr. and Ms. Donor, would you like to know what we're facing? Boom. And the door is open, and you have got a chance. You can take them right into a gift conversation if you follow our collaborative ask model. So this is an opportunity. I know it's a terrible time, and you've got to take care of yourself, take care of your team, do what you can do to nurture yourself as you face uncertainty and instability. We are with you, and we're happy to provide any kind of support we can. Right, Catherine?
Absolutely, we are. And again, just as Gail said, please know we hear from our clients and other organizations that we've had relationships with almost every day regarding how they're dealing with this uncertainty or even asking us how to deal with this uncertainty. We're here for you. We know these are difficult days and it's just we're here for you. It's really all we can say.
Okay, well, take care and best of luck and keep in touch. Thanks.
Bye.